So, very quickly about me. So, Ian Ferguson, head of SEO. Been doing SEO for 14 years. Started off in-house, doing more general marketing, and then been with VentureStream since 2018. Was at an agency previous to that, so wide kind of variety of clients I've worked with over the years. Ecom, legal, B2B, anything you imagine, I've done it. VentureStream, obviously, it's a multi-channel agency as well, so I head up the SEO, but we've got massive content department, PPC, development, everything really. So quite integrated, which has got its pros in terms of people I can just ask questions for that when it's not to do with SEO. But yeah, enough about me. Rough agenda of today. So Google landscape, just going to go through the current state of SEO, the different trends we're seeing, sites that get penalized, what people can do to turn around from that, what people have done, had success with, EEAT, and helpful content as well. I will make myself slightly smaller so I'm not in the way. Helpful content, so like what it is, user first SEO. So this is the approach we take at VentureStream, or that I have. I haven't always, I've myself early on been spammy and done some of the things that would do just for Google, but this is approach that I think is like more long-term success basically, and then a little bit at the end just touching on AI and what that kind of holds for the future of SEO. So start with the Google landscape. So there's big focus on EEAT and helpful content. So don't worry, I'm not going to go through every single update since the beginning of time, but just to give you an idea of like the recent changes, you can see this timeline plots the kind of updates up towards the end of 2023. So the big one being the helpful content update, which upset a lot of people. But you can see early doors, it was pretty consistent, had a core update, August, September, October, November. And then from November, we heard nothing until March 2024, which was when we had this huge, larger than normal update, which focused on basically really hammer down on the helpfulness of content and aim to show content that was, felt like it was show less content. I felt it was made just to attract clicks or just to get traffic and more of the stuff that people find useful. And then again, a massive gap until August 2024, which is the last update, which was an extension of that. I'm going to break those two down as quickly as I can. So starting with the March core update, I call it the most upsetting update in memory because a lot of SEOs just went absolutely kind of mental with what it did in terms of, I say a lot of SEOs, the ones that were dominating the search with all sorts of various techniques. We had this big crackdown on AI because obviously that's quite useful, quite recent. Companies just producing loads and loads of content, just spamming that out, doing quite well with it. They had 3 new spam policies, which were things that expired domain abuse, where people would buy domains and put a load of redirects, get a traffic boost that way. And scaled content abuse was specifically there to target those sites that were putting out 1,000 blog posts in a week, all AI, all pretty rubbish. This update was more complex than usual, and the systems were updated to just say really push that helpfulness side of things. One little quote from there is, will removing unhelpful content help my other content rank better? Google kind of confirmed this. So a lot of these updates work at the URL level. So if you've got a good product page, for example, with all sorts of good information on it, in theory, you should get rewarded from that. But if you've got a massive or a high percentage of your site is poor quality, so you've done some shady things in the past, or there's products that have just really, really thin content on there, removing that on average will improve your rankings, which I kind of touch on a bit later on. And then the August core update, more of building on the previous update. Basically, Google using their AI systems to target other AI systems, which were kind of gaining the rankings. We started seeing helpful content recoveries. So back in September 2023, lots of sites just like the traffic dropped off a cliff, and many of them shut down. Many people were made redundant, and we're starting to see recoveries from that. And it's just Google's ethos of like, just keep creating the good content, and we'll catch up to you. The new updates promote smaller publishers, so you've got more of a chance if you're an independent or a smaller publishers, and they aim to basically like increase website diversity. The takeaways from the new updates are basically that serving the right kind of content is key. So gone are the days of like the 10 blue links where you would Google something and you would just get 10 text results. You'll see it yourself now. If you Google something like warrior pose and yoga, it's image results that are up there, or it might be video. If you're looking for a warm-up run technique, these are just recent searches in my healthy lifestyle. But doing a blog, for example, on the warrior pose, that might not be served till much further down. And it's that user intent. Somebody wants to see a video, they'll show that. So basically the main thing to come out of this is, a lot of people just write blogs just on any kind of keyword, but that's often not the right kind of thing to do nowadays. We've seen a massive uptake in forum traffic as well. So AKA Reddit, being that well, you can see from the top right the amount of traffic that they've gained. They're kind of ticking along, probably about 5 million visits a month. And then when this hidden gems update came out, you see that's just ramped up massively to like over 40 million, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. And you'll notice this yourself when you Google something. Many of the times Reddit will appear number one, and that's part of the reason Google do it, or the reason they do anything, is that's what people are looking for. And some people just appreciate that first-hand experience. There's loads of people, kicking off like, why does a Reddit result show for a medical query? It should be a reputable site, right? It should be, I don't know, the NHS or like a doctor. But if people just want to know first-hand experience of someone that's potentially got the same symptoms of them, that's more important, and that's what they're going to surface. So yeah, massive increase in that. It shows experience and expertise, which I'll get into a little bit later. So that's part of the thing that Google tried to prioritize with their EEAT guidelines. And you see a lot of this content favors first-person pronouns. So again, there's like a hacky tactic within SEO content. You're just writing the first person because on average, this is what Google's showing when you're using your own experience, saying me or we. But apart from these big ones, there's also niche forums winning, which I think you see in the next slide here as well. So this is actually this discussions and forums section is a surf feature in the US. Some people might get it in the US and the UK, but it literally shows the discussions and forums that are relevant for that. And you can see like ones I've never heard of, slow twitch forums in there, talk running and running a warehouse, that kind of thing. And to be honest, if you're in the UK, which I know a lot of you will be, it's not a bad idea to have a VPN, switch to the United States, and see what kind of features they've got. Because as you can see, they've got way radically different, especially for e-commerce. You put something that's got the shopping intent, and you get filters straight away. You'll see kind of quick links at the top. You'll see they've got people also asks, which most we have, but in the United States, they've got buying guides. So it's not actually a bad way to see what Google are looking for, even if it doesn't show in this country. It's the same algorithm at the end of the day. It's just that the United States obviously generate the most amount of revenue for Google. That's where they're going to put everything first. Intent matching is more important than ever if the updates have taught or anything. So whether someone's browsing or whether they're buying, the main intents being navigational. So people want to find a specific thing, like the Facebook login. That's obviously going to show that page. Informational, something like what is SEO. Again, you'll get radically different results for that, and you should, write that content accordingly. Commercial, someone's looking to make a decision, like best coffee maker, and then transactional, when somebody is literally googling something because I want to buy something there and then. So creating the content that suits that the best is basically what's going to kind of get you the traffic and conversions. And content placement is more important than ever as well. So this is, I'll get into basically the likes of those forums, likes of Reddit outranking, kind of traditional search results. All the time with SEO, we kind of advise clients to write as much content on their site, but actually, if it's not those kind of websites that are ranking, why would you do that? You could do something like an Ask Me Anything on Reddit, or you could, have a guest post somewhere or be featured in a listicle, that kind of thing. This is an example of that. So can't beat them, join them. This is just an experiment I did out of curiosity, but you can see at the time when you Google mobile SEO audits, it was a LinkedIn advice article there as well. And we've done this for a few clients where basically you can use likes of Ahrefs or SEMrush to find out which of these LinkedIn articles are right, and then you can contribute to them. LinkedIn have got a very basic ranking system, so whoever's got the most reactions is considered the top expert in this article, which is me, with 9 reactions. I think most of them were venture stream people, to be honest, but again, it was a test. And you can see very quickly, if I wanted to write a blog for mobile SEO audits, I would have to put a lot of effort in. Whereas here, I've made a contribution, just give my thoughts on it. Google likes that again because it's that EEAT, it's someone with expertise contributing to that article. The articles themselves are never that good on LinkedIn. They're mainly AI generated, but they're kind of winning with these results because of all of these like experts in the articles. And this last result, this was, part of this scaled content piece. You could literally write anything. So again, LinkedIn ranked for like how to enter the BIOS, and I just wrote a ridiculous thing. And now also I'm an expert in this. So there's kind of good things and bad things for these kind of articles. Helpful content. So 2 things I'm going to go through: what is helpful content and what is EEAT, Google called it. But helpful content is basically the update that happens in September, and the recent ones are anything that's search engine first is considered bad, whereas it should be people first, written by people for people is what Google always say. We've also seen with these updates a lot of content de-optimization, which is the process of basically un-SEOing what years of doing what you think is right for Google. And as I said before, you've got site-wide factors as well. So sites with a high quantity of unhelpful content or duplicate content, they're going to be suffering the most. What is EEAT? So experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthy. So again, these are things I've been saying, like, is that content? Does the person who's written seem like they have first-hand experience of it? Do they demonstrate that they know the subject well with a good degree of like depth and accuracy? Authoritativeness. So are they constantly publishing high quality content and they're known for a specific thing? And trustworthiness, which is basically transparency around who the author is, and it's clear, concise information. It's guidelines utilized by Google, but it's not a ranking factor. So people almost want like a quality score and use that as a ranking factor. It's not an actual factor. It's just something that's almost built into the ethos of all of Google's Google's ranking signals, I'm going to call them, or ranking factors. And I can't go through the landscape without talking through the AI overviews. It started rolling out last year, just in the US. Pretty much everyone's got them now. These are screenshots from the hashtag Googleenough, which is honestly where Google's just utterly failed in its AI overviews, telling people to eat rocks and to put glue on pizzas and that kind of thing. It has got better over the last few months. They're here to stay, so you can't avoid them. But Google claimed that the click-through rate is better. So when you're featured in, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but when you're featured, you can even see again like Quora, the likes of articles being pulled in here, or forums, sorry, or YouTube videos, that kind of thing. We have started seeing product carousels recently as well, and Google Ads will be coming very soon. So pretty soon you'll be able to like buy you into these. They mainly show for informational intent keywords, which is good if you're in e-commerce where a lot of your queries are going to be for products. Bad if obviously your whole site is based on giving people information. And so tying this all in, traditional SEO kind of things like keyword research, still really important. The target keywords you want to rank for based on what your customers are going to search for. You want to understand the intent of that, serve the right content, so whether that be a blog or a guide or a YouTube video on it. Featuring in third-party content is going to be good as well. So like LinkedIn, the Reddit, which I've touched on, and also covering the FAQs section. So on the right here, I've got an example of the search term is Shopify good for beginners. Shopify got a really good article on this. It features in the AI overview, so in theory, you could get traffic from that. The first organic result is a LinkedIn Pulse article. So again, that's an opportunity to where can I contribute to this, or how can I create my own piece on LinkedIn? And then you've got this people also ask section under that, where you've got relevant examples of Shopify pulling through with these. So they've basically showcasing a really good job that Shopify have done with that article, which I'll actually show later on. So helpful content. I'm going to show some examples of, say, things that you can do on your own site, different features you can do, and just some general rules that we generally tend to follow. So what is helpful content? Well, Google, I've got basically like 30 questions, which I've linked through. We'll share these slides afterwards as well, for those of you who can't make it. But yeah, 30 questions that you should ask yourself to determine whether your site is being penalized by Google. Does the content provide original information? Is it unique? Does the main heading provide a descriptive, helpful summary? So, aka, it's not clickbait. It's not going to be disappointing when you land on it. Does it have any stylistic issues, etc., etc., etc.? But I think all of these can be boiled down to one thing, which is people first. Content means content that's created primarily for people and not to manipulate search engine rankings. And I've kind of got my own Google rules, golden rules on what I follow when I'm doing it. So the first one being that SEO should be the secondary reason to do something. If you're only doing it for SEO, then don't. And this is coming from someone who's done SEO all their lives, and who has done it in the past. But to be honest, it's what I stand by, and it's what works. It's that user first experience. The second Google rule is that good rankings should be a side effect of SEO. So basically, if the only reason you think of do something for SEO, why are you doing it? So as I go through these slides, I just want to bear these in mind, and things that you've traditionally say that are good for SEO. Is there any way you can rephrase that question to put the user first? So, for example, people say I should add author pages to improve Google's perception of my authority, because that's obviously part of EEAT. And if I create a user page that says, my name's Dr. Ferguson, I'm a doctor, I've been practicing in medicine for 10 years, here are my qualifications, that should help. Better to rethink of that is, I should add author pages to reassure people of my experience. So in this case, you're not doing it for SEO, but you're doing it because it's actually helpful. And you'll see this a lot, and you'll see a lot of SEOs telling people to do this. Google have confirmed it's not a ranking factor, but whether it is or not. But like, for example, here I've listed search engine. I can't remember the name of the blog, but it's I read it every day. And we've got, for example, here the Roger Monti, which is a massive author. It's telling you he's got 25 years hands-on experience. You can go to his page and you can see all of his links, and you can see his articles, and you can see everything about him. And you see this on the likes of Medium as well. So a blog related to medicine, you can actually hover over Patricia Hodge in this example, and you can see that she's a doctor, retired nurse practitioner, so she's got that expertise. We're not doing this to help Google, but we're doing this if you read in this piece of content, then you can trust that it's going to be okay. And it's the only reason why the second slide was a little bit about me, and I talked to myself a little bit on it. It's quite cringeworthy for it to do it, but I wanted to reassure you that I'm not just making this up. I've got that kind of experience in the background. This is live, so apologies if you can hear police cars or ambulances in the background. So the example of something that you shouldn't do, or there was no case other than for SEO, would be something like I should buy backlinks to improve my domain authority in rankings. So everybody knows that, well, everyone knows that if you have a higher domain authority, Google likes that, you'll get higher rankings. But actually, if you try and switch that around and ask why you should buy backlinks for your users, there's no reason. Literally none. Now, it's not to say that backlinks aren't important, or it's not to say that you couldn't rephrase that to say, I should feature my products on related websites to raise brand awareness. That's fine. Or I could tap into other audiences if I wrote a guest blog on a particular thing. I might get a backlink, but it's not the primary reason you're doing it. The primary reason is you've identified a blog or someone in your space that's really relevant, where you know your customers are going to, and actually it might make sense when you look at the rankings to see if you could feature something there. Another example, spammy example you see all the time is people saying, I need to use my exact target keywords as anchor text in every link to improve my rankings. And you'll see this yourself if you're on any kind of e-commerce site, you read through the content, and let's say it's red dresses, because that's the example I'll show later. And it would be like, buy red dresses. We have lots of red dresses. Browse our range of red dresses, rouge dresses. And it's old school. People do it because they want to link the exact word that they want to rank for in there. But actually, as a user, you read through that and it's just not a good experience. It's just rubbish and unnecessary. Another one, I'll update the date of a blog to trick Google into thinking my content is fresh, because we know Google likes fresh content. It doesn't want to serve content that's years old. So there will literally be people that go on a website, update the year from 2023 to 2024. It's pointless. Google, somebody coming to that page, reading it, is going to be like, hang on, I've read this before, or hang on, this is talking about things that were released last year. They click off. It's not good for your brand, not good for anything. Rephrasing that to something like, I should update my best performing content with new information to stay relevant, is something that you could do. A bit more of a mouthful, but the example here I've shown is the best selected cars. So the current one is 2024, and that ranks literally for best selected cars. And the URL is exactly the same. So they haven't got the year in the URL, which I think is good practice. But if you go back on Wayback Machine, you can go back to 2023 and you can see the same URL has got information about the best selected cars 2023. And they haven't just updated the year or the meta titles or whatever. In fact, it's a different author, you'll see. Some of the cars are the same in that list. It's a top 10 list. Some of them are inevitably going to be the same, but it's different. There's newer cars in there, and some have went up and down based on whatever it is. So generally best practice, generally the best way to keep your rankings. Something we'll do on like a quarterly or 6 month basis is just look at your best performer content, and then just planning that in based on how it's going to change to keep it fresh. This is one I've pulled out a little bit more information on, so I should add FAQs to articles because Google likes them. Whereas you want to ask, can I answer questions my customers generally have and help them make a decision? So I've got a bit of a case study on here, but FAQs, in the sense that I'm talking about, they can feature anywhere. So they can feature on your homepage. You can have feature within blogs. It can be standalone blog posts, which is just loads of questions about one particular area. And the answer basically the what, where, the why, the when, the which, all of those questions. So here's an example of a client of ours for called Yoga Matters. So if you search for yoga mats, you have the top result there. And you'll see in position kind of 5, you have these people also ask, which is people asking, what's the best yoga mat? Some of them are quite generic, like what's the best yoga mat to buy? Some of them are more specific, like what thickness? And you'll see when you click through to that particular collection, at the bottom of the page, you have that, you answer that question there, how thick should my yoga mat be? And you can see it's at the bottom of the page, it's below the pagination, so it doesn't get in the user's way. But the theory of this is we haven't added it because Google likes FAQs. We've added to a product. If you scroll through kind of 40 products, there's a chance that you don't know what you want or you're still making your decision. So actually, why not anticipate what some of these questions might be? You might read this, how thick it should be, and then there's a filter there to say, okay, well, I can filter by thicker yoga mat because that's what I need. Plenty of places to gather this data. So the most obvious one is the people also ask section, where it's just Googling what you want, seeing what questions come up. There's also a lot of keyword tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, but I put at the top of the pyramid customers, and that is actual questions that your customers have. And this is gathered through your salespeople, your customer service people, any live chat data you've got, actually asking the people who work for the troubles and the questions that come across more is going to be way better than any kind of keyword tool could get you. It's not to say you can't use them for like ideas. I've put a few in here for if you ever want to do this yourself. There's one, also ask.com, which gives you 3 free searches a day before you've got to pay for it. But this is really handy because you can put a search term in like flat roof installation, random example, and it'll actually give you the questions that people ask about it. So how much should it cost? And then you'll notice when you click into it, you'll get more questions, and it even goes into that depth. So pretty much from this, you can build a huge list of questions people have around that, and then use your customer service to refine that. There's also Answer the Public, which I'm sure you've used. Again, three free searches a day, but they're all split up the main topic for all of these kind of which, why, and can, and how questions as well. And then there's keyword tools. So in this case, Ahrefs. So basically, on this case, we've found all of the questions that people have, and Ahrefs will group it between the search volume as well. So actually, not one single question looks that attractive in terms of there's only 10 to 30 people searching for it a month, but Ahrefs does a good job of grouping it together into this parent topic, which is, can you get a mortgage on an auction property? Which, when you look at it, it has a traffic potential of 900, and that's because this one piece ranks for many of those variations of the question. So you don't want to get something like this and literally write a blog post on each one of these keywords, because it would be the same, it wouldn't be right. That would be kind of old school SEO. But if you use the questions in it, you can say we've managed to secure, again, #1 placement here for SDL by just answering those questions that people have within it. And going into the point of the second example here is, we also have a lot of this content featured in these people also asked. That wasn't deliberate. This is, again, the side effect of SEO. As long as you write good content and you follow the best practices, you will start to show up here as well. And you can see the impact of adding all of these FAQs to articles. You get increased engagement rate and increased conversion rate, because you're giving the customers what they want, explaining what you want. And this SEO side effect would be, we've actually had like a 371% increase in SERP features. So this is where this client ranks in that people also ask section, and also like a 7% increase in top 3 rankings over the last 3 months. And that, again, goes back to the EEAT, is you're showing that you're an authority of the subject because you've covered all of these things that people ask. Now we tune for time. I might have to speed up a bit because I've got quite a few slides, but hopefully you're finding it interesting so far. So this next slide, I'm going to show you some helpful features, which become more obvious when I go through. But I wanted just to point this out in terms of like, the narrative from Google is that when you write a piece of content, they are literally looking at this content. They tell what they're looking at it as if there's a person going on, scrolling through, clicking through. But the reality is they've literally got like trillions of URLs to crawl every day. So kind of the third golden rule for me is, to think like a Google engineer. So how would you quantify EEAT and quality at scale if you had to do it for like trillions of sites a day, for example? We recently had this big Google data leak around about June this year. Confirmed, I think it was 14,000 things in total that Google looks at. One of those things was like nav boost, and looking at things like your cookie history. So nav boost being a re-ranking system that adjusts your rankings based on the click behavior. They get this from like Chrome data. It's not a coincidence that Google released Google Chrome and got as many people to use it as they can. But like I say, all of these things are basically, they're not, if Google have confirmed that they look at it, but they haven't actually confirmed that ranking factors. But the big takeaway from all this leak is, I just assume that Google has all this information and optimize for things like click-through rate, which is a big thing on nav boost, and optimize for user experience. And the third rule, I think, like Google engineer, rules 1 and 2, in my opinion, still trump that. So don't do it just because you've seen a document like this and it can help. Do it because you can help your user. So under that example, I should hack meta titles to improve rankings, where the alternative would be, how can I showcase USPs so that people want to click on my result? So I put some best practices here for title tags, because I think it's one of those things that's still underutilized. I must do, a part of like when I'm looking at new websites, it's something that comes up time and time again. The title's unoptimized. Nobody's bothered with it, and it's still one of the biggest kind of opportunities nowadays. Same with meta descriptions as well. People just aren't using them, where they can use them as little kind of sales ads as well. So things like including USPs and including CTAs within your meta titles, meta descriptions really helps. This is from Google themselves. I think it's just handy. It just gives you bad examples of meta descriptions. Oftentimes they're blank. Oftentimes they'll just pull content from the page and it's not good. But there's some examples here of what you can add and how you can basically like improve the amount of people that are clicking on your result. So obviously the benefit of more people clicking on your results, even if you don't improve in the rankings, is that you're going to get more traffic. But the side effect is if enough people click that, you might potentially go up a ranking. And going back through to this Google leak, I can remember probably like 10 years ago now, Rand Fishkin doing these tests. He had quite a big audience and he would be like, I've got a little experiment. You would do it at conferences. You would say, I've got a little experiment. Could everybody Google this particular term and click on this result? And sometimes it would be on page 2. And within 20 minutes of doing this result, it might be on position 1. So it's Google denied that they use it, but then there's a little test like this where you're like, yeah, I think it is the thing. I want to touch on clickbait as well. So clickbait within titles. Clickbait isn't necessarily bad. It's not the enemy. Bad content is. You can have good clickbait and you have bad clickbait. Good clickbait is obviously an engaging headline that delivers the promised content. Bad clickbait is misleading. And Google penalizes, again, websites that mislead this with clickbait. It's what they're trying to do anyway. And this, as you can see, is from an AI overview. It's from Google themselves, so you know it's got to be true. You'll see this yourself on your own websites, especially if you're on news articles, and you'll see all these spammy headlines like "Doctors hate this woman, learn her secrets." These are just things that aren't good. Whereas you can rephrase them to, mention things like 5 everyday foods that actually boost your immune system. And the shocking truth about your daily coffee habit, it's not what you think. And as long as the content's good, it's potentially okay to use this as titles instead of getting stuck in the routine of like, let's mention the keyword in the title, let's mention the secondary keyword in the meta description. I put some stats in here as well on basically the best practice. But one thing in particular to pull out is that just in general, pages with a meta description get 6% more clicks than those without a description. And it's obviously shifts based on where you are. If you're in position 1, you estimate to get about 27% of the clicks, position 2, 15, and it drops off. But we say you can do a lot with click-through rate. So just an example of showing how that translates. The keyword double buggy gets 12,000 searches a month. If you were in position 2 for that, you'd be getting on average about 1,800 clicks a month. And if the double buggy is quite expensive, average order value, say £1,000, the sales based on a 2% conversion rate, about £38,000. If you can tweak that meta title description to make it slightly more compelling, increase that click-through rate by 1%, all of a sudden you've added an extra kind of £2,000 in conversion rate. If you in your sales, if you improve it by 2%, an extra, again, £3,000 on it. So little tweaks about like that. Assume that you're going to stay in the same position, but you want to get more traffic through. The side effect will be if you continue to get more clicks, you should hopefully go up. And I'm going to next go through some helpful features. Again, tying this all in. So first slide I've started on is this bandwagon effect, which is doing something because everyone does it. The subtitle of this is How SEOs Ruined the Internet, which was an article by The Verge, which basically showed how SEOs, do things because other people do them and they look like they're effective. Therefore, all of the website looks the same. So I mentioned this before. This is a search for red dresses, and you can see the themes throughout. All of them are pretty much called red dresses or women's red dresses. They've all got the kind of header content at the top because I think Google likes this. Most of them have hidden them behind a read more, which is best practice, to be fair. That's kind of a good balance between let's put this in there because Google might like it, but actually let's not make it take up the whole page. And the majority of them have got these like quick links as well. So Boohoo, for example, you can go onto party dresses or you can go onto other things as well. My defense for SEO is like sometimes this isn't a bad thing. It adds familiarity to the site. And sometimes it makes sense to copy competitors. So if you're in e-commerce, it's probably not a bad idea to copy one of Amazon's features because they've probably tested it and it probably works. And then there's also the fact that if a site decided to change far too much, it shows up these it creates a subconscious doubt in your mind Kind of like if you were to, a real life example, if you were to kind of pass a cafe and there was no lights on, you would assume it's shut. You don't necessarily think, oh, there's no lights on there, therefore it must be shut. You think, you just think of these psychologically. And if you went on a website and all of a sudden the menu was on the bottom, there was no descriptions, the products weren't where you expected them to be. It's one of those things that can hurt conversion rate. I do always fight this as well with one of our developers, Dean, because he's designers just want to make kind of pretty content, and I feel like sometimes that can go in and be like, oh, we need this, and this. It might not look the best, but in our defense, like, we're testing everything and we're doing things because it's increasing the conversion rate and ultimately the revenue. But yeah, I'm gonna just how we go through these in terms of like how you can tell what kind of features you want. It starts with competitor analysis and also customer feedback. So feedback in the pyramid. What are customers finding the most frustrating about your website? What would they change? And there's obviously also tools you can use with this as well. So it's just Hotjar, which is good for heat maps, Microsoft Clarity, which lets you do A/B tests, and then GA4 to look at user journeys. So one of the first things I think anybody can do, and it's gonna help your customers, and it's gonna give you hopefully a ranking boost, a user-generated content. So this takes the form of testimonials, reviews, Q&A, embedded social media. It increases trust straight away because in this case, it's maybe the course that you want to go on is good, or the product you want to buy is good. You've got real people showing that expertise. And it also improves the engagement metrics. So again, Amazon is the example. Nothing's like hidden behind a read more or tucked away. It's all just there on the page. Nobody would design an e-commerce site like Amazon nowadays. They'd probably say it's far too busy, far too messy, but obviously it works. And the secondary benefit of this user-generated content is that it's going to increase your long tail keywords, and it's going to increase the amount of times you'll show in the image results. So this example here of someone posting the pictures of what their LED light setup looks like, it's more potential for that to happen. It's also, I've just highlighted as well this example here, great show at an affordable price. That's obviously a typo, but that's probably one of the main reasons you can tell why something isn't AI generated now as well. It's quite interesting. And this website actually shows for like Adidas shows. So little things like that, increasing long tail keywords, but not the primary reason you're doing it. Comparison site content also helps as well. Anybody where we can do that for would recommend it. So it's usually either this product versus that product, so internal, like IKEA. Again, benefits from a user point of view, it helps customers make an informed decision, but it's also an opportunity for you to upsell. So you can show a slightly more expensive product, slightly better specs to make them spend more money. Biggest example of this is probably like Apple. If you've ever tried to buy an iPad, you'll start off with the cheapest one, but actually for £50 more, you can double the memory. Okay, I'm spending £50 more. I might as well spend another £50 and get the next model. And when you look at it, if we could get double that memory for 50 quid more, it's this kind of laddering effect that helps. Improves engagement metrics because people spend more time on the site, which Google likes. Well, that's not what we do. And there's benefits as well, other than SEO, in terms of like, oh, well, we can remarket to these customers who have viewed the content but not converted. The second example is for a search like Beehive versus ConvertKit. You see Reddit's #1. So again, let's see if we can produce content for that. But Beehive themselves rank for that, and they rank for all sorts of variations of that in terms of Beehive versus Klaviyo, MailChimp, Substack, etc., etc. Few more features I'm going to rattle through. Authors, I've already talked about, but also accessibility features. So Medium do a really good job of this, where you can listen to the article narrated for it. Again, just keeps you on the site more, makes you interact with it. And video captions as well are also a really good idea. So whether that's auto-generated by YouTube or you have a video on a content page, actually putting the transcription of that video can help. And it's actually being shown as a source for AI overview. So the automatic captions from YouTube videos will show up sometimes in AI overviews, which is crazy. Interactive content is a big thing. So this calculator, for example, is something we did for Aquacadabra. It actually performs better than the homepage. It's just blown up. But obviously, the intent between somebody searching for this calculator is very different for somebody who's transactional. So again, we've just changed the landing page and changed the call to actions on this page to cater for that. Improved search is a good thing. So searching for things can be a bit basic, but in this example, you can serve all those different levels of intent with the search. So you can serve collection pages for people that want to browse a range of things. You can search products, and you can't see it here, but underneath you've got blogs as well. So you've got guides and helpful things as well. And then page speed I've put because it correlates with higher conversions. Not a massive misconception that page speed is everything in SEO. It's not the case. As long as your site performs relatively fast, when you've tested it on like a slow device, don't be overly concerned with the numbers is the big takeaway from this. There's even like a controversy that Google have just said that page speed is important because they obviously want to save money from a data point of view, and if they could get everybody on the internet to make their site a little bit less bulky code, they're going to save a fortune. But that's conspiracy talk. Product filters help massively, so they help your customers find what they want, but the secondary SEO effect would be that you can rank for all these keywords as well. But it's super helpful. The example here is from Screwfix, which generally tend to outrank Amazon for every kind of collection page because they go into so much detail. Data-rich content, so if this is a chance to add ingredients or PDFs, instructions, do it. And keyword cannibalization, which kind of goes from the point of cutting down your content. This is basically the same site. I've got 3 articles that are very similar, but we find that one article that covers all of this is better than 3, which kind of partially duplicate. Next thing I'll touch on is all of this product category. So this is a traditional silo site structure, which most people will have. You'll have your products or your services, and then your blogs, and then your info pages, very segregate. Because this is created because people have this assumption that a user journey is you land on a collection page, you view a product, and then you buy it, simple as. But the reality is, with all these pages, anybody could enter your site at any point in the user journey. So hence why you see we're pushing for more of like integration between your helpful content, your blogs, and maybe your commercial or your transactional stuff. So examples here, having a guide on how to choose the right shoes within a running shoe is really good. Another running shoe example here as well, you've got a gait analysis kind of quiz that you can take within the content. And example here from like a university course, things like quizzes, product configurators, once you're in a particular page, allowing people basically showcasing this content and let people who are undecided go off. Basically merging a lot of it together is ultimately better. And I've done an example here on Shopify, which is I think it's a blog I showed previously. For what is Shopify, so a really basic result, but you land on the page, you've got a table of contents, which you can skip to wherever you want. You've got video content there, you've got related articles, in this case, how to start an online store, because the intent behind this is quite like, somebody who's just starting off. You've got case studies here, which you can click through to, adds trust, and then you've got FAQs at the bottom, which you'll see feature in here. The opposite of helpful content, unhelpful content, and this is just to go back on that point of having high amounts of unhelpful content might cause other content on the site not to as well. Don't remove it because Google doesn't like it. Remove it because it's no longer relevant. If you were a bookshop, for example, you wouldn't keep a book on the shelf that hasn't sold for 2 years. You would get rid of it. And there's various ways you can do that using like crawling tools. You can look at pages which have had no views, haven't gained any backlinks, haven't been visited in 2 years, and then you can categorize your content into like just delete it, remove it, or consolidate it, or improve it, all sorts of things. And you'll see this as well if you search for things like you'll see like content in there that's just being made and forgotten about, like Black Friday 2021, or you might have test pages. You can do a site search for your own website and just search for lorem ipsum, and it'll show you a load of pages which you just probably didn't know about that are showing up. And yeah, I'm going to finish on basically AI and SEO because we've touched AI overviews. This is a terrifying graphic I'm aware of, but it could be the future very, very soon. So I just want to address this content of people saying we can rewrite competitor blogs with AI and rank what they rank for. It's as easy as that. But it's not, because we've got certain things from Google, like the scaled content abuse, which shows that this is a very short-lived strategy. So this is the growth of like the LinkedIn advice page, which started to follow similar trends to Reddit, but you can see it tapered off. The yellow line here shows the number of pages or articles that are putting out, and the orange line shows estimated traffic from that. So you can see as content increases, Google clicks on, brings it down, and the same for LinkedIn Pulse as well. Really high levels of traffic at one point, and then Google clicks on. Not to say that it's not a good strategy. So the LinkedIn Pulse articles rank for 97,000 keywords in the top 10, and the advice pages rank for 5,500. So there are cases where the content is actually helpful and would be good, but for the rate that they're putting out there, it's not going to last. It's a short-lived opportunity. And then going on to basically some of the tools we can use. This is an old graphic. There was roughly 120 at the time, but it's probably more like 500 in terms of like AI content that can help you. What we find it's useful for at the minute is basically bringing those clients from the data side into the insights, into the execution a lot faster. So leveraging AI tools in the lifecycle, but not letting AI do for it, but basically not letting AI do everything for us, but letting AI, guide for or to just speed up conclusions a little bit faster and get into execution a lot faster is ultimately what we want to do. And the quote I use, which I stole from Andy Robinson, was that AI won't replace you, a person using AI will. We can use AI for things like idea generation, blog idea generation, keyword planning and mapping at scale, data analysis, all this good stuff. And even things that I've done recently, such as like site redirect projects, when we've got, websites that are re-platforming. Previously, that might have taken me like a full day to do. I did one the other day in literally like 30 minutes, utilizing AI, and basically like partial matching. And the same with short form content. So meta content does a pretty good job of like, here's 100 pages, generate the meta title. And then it's still very much up to the individuals to be saying, oh, how can we improve this? How can we differentiate them? How can we put USPs that potentially AI doesn't know about? At the minute, no good for writing in-depth articles. Not really any good for identifying current trends, because so the models are always out of date, and it's no good at being 100% correct all the time. A couple of tools touch on, some we use every day. SEMrush, good all-rounder for AI, really good at keyword research, content optimization, ideas, and intent matching as well. That's baked into the software now, which is great. So you can create, look for a load of keywords, and you can see what the intent is, and then plan in some blogs to write about it. Or if it's commercial intent, create a landing page for it, or create a collection page for it, or a product page, that kind of thing. Obviously, ChatGPT is the one most people will be familiar with. It is improving all the time. We'll generally tend to use the custom GPT, which is trained on our data, just to enhance the accuracy a little bit. I've used it all the time for like things like writing structured data. Before those tools that would do it, now we can just give it AI and it'll produce it, test it, it's fine. And obviously you can upload documents like your tone of voice. So if you wanted to produce things at scale, it'll get you 78% of the way there. And then there's tools like Phrase, which I've kind of trialed before, which is really good with the content research, user insights, and also heat mapping as well. Does a good job of analyzing the current SERPs, analyzing their competitors, and actually giving you the kind of things that you should cover in your own article. It will draft it, as you can see here, but we'd never let AI just write everything, not today at least. And the last tool, Typesmith, is kind of like a shameless plug. This is the one that Venture Streams created specifically for kind of e-commerce and optimizing e-commerce copy at scale. So it can do, basically you can either give it the image of a product or basic information, and it'll write you a product description using a combination of the data and the images. It'll then, once you have that description, write a meta title and a meta description, which should like in theory, match up with that content and be good and have all these things baked in, like USBs that you feed it in. It'll also write the image alt text automatically for any images that are on there, and give you ideas on other things like social media posts, Google Shopping, in a ready to import format. So upload 5,000 products, it does it all. You check it through, obviously it's a human, and you upload it. Basically making a lot of the nice to haves with SEO more, can haves. So I'm going to end on the future of AI and SEO. Appreciate I've talked for about 50 minutes straight now. And we've kind of scheduled to finish at 2 o'clock. I will swap over to LinkedIn as well to see if there's any questions. But the way I see the future of AI and SEO, it's changing the scale at which strategies are implemented. So taking somebody from the data stage, we could be in the data stage for months, just getting all the keyword research, deciding on a content plan, keyword mapping, that kind of thing. But SEOs can do more for the same budget in theory. Don't hear our chief commercial officer tell us that. But we can. More than nice to haves have become can haves. Things like image alt text. Previously, we know that was like a best practice to fill it in, good for accessibility. But who's going to have time to sit down and write like tens of thousands of image alt text? AI can do that all now within like seconds. AI overviews are here to stay, unfortunately, if you like them or you don't. And AI organized results have already started to roll out. And this image on the right is a new feature, something new they're testing out, which is quick view, which is literally you'll see. And if you click quick view on that recipe, you get everything that you could possibly need without going on the website. You got the steps, the ingredients, that kind of thing. This is a trend that we don't see ending anytime soon. Google wants to keep you on their site. They want to push you to more of their products. So yeah, assume that that's going to happen and have a backup plan in terms of like where else you can put content. Call it traffic erosion. It's going to continue as long as Google has shareholders. Every year they want to show that they're making more money. AI watermark plans have already been scrapped. So there's a big thing saying that, Google's going to be easily able to tell because text will have watermark. It's too complicated. AI moves too fast to kind of do anything with that. A website written by AI can still outrank human written websites. You can find examples of all this time. Google's getting better at it, and we wouldn't advise anyone does it. Human content writer skills will become highly valuable because I think even nowadays it's more obvious when you go through that something has been written by AI, and it's an immediate trust signal in terms of, well, how do I know this company is even legit if the content's obviously written by it. I do think that junior hiring roles will be far less common, and that's just based on looking at the things that I did 14 years ago as an SEO. That would fill my day that I could now do in half an hour using AI tools. But I do think AI won't take your job. A person using AI will. So potentially less junior roles on it, but I don't think, as long as you're using the tools and as long as you're doing the things that AI can't, like customer service skills, for example, you should be okay, but I could be wrong. And that's it. That concludes the talk. I think I've finished relatively on time. Little bits in here, I've just put a link to my newsletter. So SEO TLDR. If you Google that, it should be number one. It wouldn't be a very good SEO if it wasn't. And I just offer free weekly insights like this. Try to keep it as short as I can. There's a LinkedIn version, and there's a version I'll just get emailed to you every Monday morning, afternoon. And yeah, that's my LinkedIn URL as well. If you want to just talk to me about SEO, connect, I'm happy to do so. Thanks very much. I'm going to quickly jump over to LinkedIn just to see if there's any questions. If you are not seeing this live, that's fine. Yeah, if you're watching this at a later date, just feel free, connect on LinkedIn, ask away, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. But other than that, I'm going to let... thanks, Edward. SEO TLDR, newsletter fan. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll end there. Drop me a message if you've got any questions, and I'll let Emily click the close presentation. Thanks everyone for joining, and thanks everyone that sees it. Hopefully it's been helpful. I'll catch you guys later.